Hello everyone, welcome to iOS application development training using Swift programming. Today we will learn optional in Swift program. As we know, Apple developed Swift programming to mainly achieve a language which must be fast, safe, modern and very less code, but it is a powerful code. So we use optional value to achieve safety in Swift code. That means optionals make our program crash free. Okay, but we need to also remember that we must always unwrap an optional before we use it. So there are two ways to unwrap. One is unwrapping, another is optional binding. Okay, remember default value for optional is nil and we use question mark to denote optional variable and constants, while we use exclamation mark to denote unwrapping of option variable. Now, to understand optional, we need to just recall our constants and variable. Okay, basically variable and constant, as we know that it is a container for a value of particular type. Okay, and it must have a value before we will use it, and this value can be either its default value or user defined. Okay, while optional, they also are constant and variable, but there is a slight difference. So we can say an optional is also a container for a value of particular type, but it can hold some value or there can be no value, which is known as nil value. Okay, this is the master difference between our simple constants and variable and optional constant and variable. So in the first example, you can see we have a variable named roll number and data type is integer. This is how we generally declare our variables. Okay, but we also very clear about it that if we only define this way and do not provide any value and we will try to print, then it will crash the program. So we need to do following, like either we will provide the default value equal to 0 or else any user defined, then only we can use this variable. While if you come to the example of optional, see there is a slight difference. Variable, the same name is roll number, data type is integer, but mentioned here that it is optional by using the question mark. Okay, so here it is valid. Now when we say optional, that means its value is nil, but still you can print it, but you cannot use it. So if you will try to print this value, it will say roll number equal to optional nil. Okay, and same line we can write in the other way is roll number, data type is integer and equal to nil. So that means it is holding nil value. Now as I told you earlier that we cannot use it unless we will unwrap it. So how we will do that? Let's see the last example in the bottom square box. Okay, where we have this variable roll number and we have declared as a data type integer, but it is optional by using question mark, and then we have provided, or you can say assigned 22 the value in it. Now in print we have mentioned the variable name is roll number along with the exclamation mark to unwrap it. So if we will do this way, it will completely work and it will print roll number value is 22. Okay. Now same thing, to understand it in a better way or clearly, we'll go to the Xcode and we'll create a small program. Okay, let's do this. See, here I have created a one playground file and name is Swift optional. Okay. Now to just get more space, we'll hide this navigation bar and this bottom on the console. Now I'll tell you, start from the line number 4. Okay, so here I have declared optional and I'm trying to explain you the same thing, because initially we created variable and constant, so it is like that way only. We created a roll number variable, data type integer, but it does not work in the only this line, so we need to provide the roll number is 22 and then we can print. That means at any cost we have to provide before use it. Okay, so there is no chance that we can say that this roll number can hold no values. For that we use in line number 10, we are making it optional and it is treated as a nil value. That means it does not have any value. Now here if you want to print, it will print this thing, optional nil. That means it does not contain any value and it is an optional, it will indicate. So to get the correct output we need to unwrap it. Now we have assigned 23 value to the roll number variable, and then in the line number 17 we are printing using the unwrapping. Okay, so if we'll print, it will give a perfect answer. The roll number is 23. Now we can do same thing in another way, but it is known as force unwrapping. That means if we know that roll number 3 is a data type is integer, okay, and we will have a value before we will use it. That means we are sure that there will be a value in the roll number before we will use, then we can force unwrap, and then we just provided the value and we are printing it, so it will work. Now other option is optional binding. Okay, either we can use unwrapping or else we can go with the optional binding. So here where there is a variable name message and its data type is a string and it's an optional, so before we will use, for the safety check, we can check whether this particular variable is holding a value or it is a nil. That means there is no value in it, so we are checking it. Okay, if it is not equal to nil, that means there is a value in the message variable, then it will print here, otherwise it will say no value found, return back. So that means our program will not crash and it is a safe check. Same thing will do this way as well. See, there is a message and it's optional, type is string, and in the if block we are creating a constant name unwrapping message and we are storing our optional in it. Okay, so it will unwrap and then same thing we can print whether the value is there or there is no value. Okay, so if you execute this program, okay, see, this is the following output. Now I'll tell you one thing, let's go up. Okay, here line number 11 say roll number is nil. Okay, because here there is no value we have provided, only while the declaring the optional we are saying it is containing nil in it. Okay, now next is line number 17, we have assigned 23 and we have unwrapped, so it is perfectly fine and it will print roll number 2 is 23. Next is we did force unwrapping and then we provided, or you can say the updated value of roll number is 24, so it will print roll number 3 is 24. And in the optional binding section, okay, see here, because we have only created this optional and did not have provided any value in it, so it will have nil. so far. Okay, so that means it will go to the else part, because we are checking whether message is not equal to or nil. So it will go to else and it will print no value found, return back. This is, you can see in console. And otherwise same here, we are unwrapping the optional and it has a nil value, so it will say no value found. That's it. This is how our optionals work in Swift programming, and they provide a safety check so that our program does not crash. Okay, and we can handle it very well. Whenever we try to get the data from server, sometime we may receive some data, or sometime it can be a nil, or that means there is no data. So for that situation, it is perfectly right useful to use optional in our Swift program. That's it. Thank you so much. Please like, subscribe and share, and if you have any question, please ask. Thank you once again.